and the Philadelphia Eagles. We're here to talk about trade rumors that feature the words and the Philadelphia Eagles. And you can trust me because I look like a John McMullen if you have long hair. Sorry guys, my niece wanted me to wear this wig and do my intro, so I promised her I'd do that. What's up, Cerebral Football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. If you're new to the channel, it's maybe the first, second, third time you caught my content and you enjoyed today's discussion. We are on a journey. We're on a path. We just crossed over 6,600 subscribers. We're heading towards 7,500 subscribers. I would love for you to join the Cerebral Football community. Just need you to hit that subscribe button to do that. To my OG subscribers, hey man, I don't have my hat right now, but I normally say hat in hand, but you know, pretty locks in hand here. Hit that thumbs up button, smash the like button, help me spike this algorithm, and get this in front of new people that we could potentially convert into our little community here on the YouTube. All right, y'all. That's more like it. Trade rumors, right? This is always a tough one because some of us who are older members of our community, we remember the pre-Howie days of the Philadelphia Eagles, and you know, we know there was a time where the Eagles weren't mentioned in every single potential trade possibility. So when I hear things like Alvin Kamara and I hear the names that get mentioned, you always have to really go take a look at the contract. You can never rule out something, guys, because we all know that the salary cap is very, I'm not going to say that it's monopoly money, because I think that's a slight exaggeration, but it's not a completely ridiculous statement at the same time because it's malleable. It can be molded, it can be bent, it can be moved. We just watched Howie Roseman take a guy who had, $12 million, cap hit, $12 million, honestly, I think it was just in his base salary. I don't think that was his complete cap hit. And you saw that he was able to basically, that's a per game basis, adds up to $12 million. We've already been 7 games into the season for Quinn, and he took that money, and he had the Chicago Bears pay $7 million of it, and got him basically on a veteran minimum deal for a 4th round pick. Just a great example, and cut off 2 years of the contract. Just a great example of how the cap can be manipulated, moved. It's malleable, right? It can be bent, it can be moved. So anytime I hear things and you hear names like Alvin Kamara and these kind of guys, I immediately think that. But I will say, when I look at Alvin Kamara as a 27-year-old, there's some pending legal issues going on here with Kamara. I don't know enough about the case to speak on it, guys. I'm not going to do that. But I do look at the cap hit of Alvin Kamara, and I immediately say to myself, like, okay, this isn't like an impossibility, but like, I'm curious of how we would work the cap situation to make that work. And then I started seeing some kind of later reporting saying that, yeah, this is one of those end the Eagles situations. How he picked up the phone, how he's always going to call on guys to see just what the asking price is and, whether or not a team can meet them halfway. So what I take away from this is this. The Eagles front office compared to the coaching staff, there seems to be maybe a little slight disagreement in terms of the depth needed at running back. I think this is a pretty difficult situation because personally, if you're asking me personally, I would like to see Trey Sermon get a little bit more playtime. Now, I'm here to tell you, I've never played running back. I always did it more so from the position of being a quarterback, and when I've had the opportunity to play a skill position, it was mostly as a wide receiver. So I don't have the experience playing the position at running back, but I do know from my time coaching, like some of the telltale signs of how you judge adequate running back play. And one of the things I think often gets left out of the conversation here is it's really about pass protection. And you look at a guy like Trey Sermon, who I really would love to see inserted into the game more because he does run with a little bit more physicality than some of the other backs. I mean, he's still a little bit more of an outside runner. I will say that for a bigger guy, he doesn't necessarily always get to that one cut and get downhill immediately. But he showed glimpses in the couple of carries he had with the Eagles where I was like, okay, like there's some given ability here. He could be pretty good in this system, I thought. Coaching staff, man. The coaching staff feels really comfortable with playing Miles Sanders, playing Boston Scott, and playing Kenneth Gainwell. They just haven't really used Trey Sermon or any other back, honestly. And then you look at the front office, but the front office is clearly kind of looking down things. The front office could be potentially looking past this season. I mean, that is certainly aspects of it. The front office has to keep its eyes on the future, while the coaching staff is very much living more so in the immediate moment. So, I mean, it's just tough to weigh these things. I still hear the Hunt rumors, and don't get me wrong, Kareem Hunt would be a great addition. It's a physical running back. It's a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a guy who can pick up and do things in pass protection. He has all three phases down. But there's another player I want to get into, someone that I think is he's being kind of slept on, and I think that he's not the big name. He's not the Kareem Hunt. He's not the CMC, right? He's not the Alvin Kamara. He's not the David Montgomery type. He's not the big name. But I think he's a really, really good football player. Darrel Williams of the Arizona Cardinals is a guy that makes a little bit of sense to me personally. He's not the big name back. He got some run last year with Kansas City where because of injuries and necessity, he carried over the ball over 100 times last year. With that said, I mean, he's not the big name back. He's just not. But what he is solid in pass protection. I mean, I'm not going to say he's the greatest receiving back in the world, but he can do it at a respectable level. And the young man is a size back. He's 5'11", like 220-some pounds. I mean, he's got the size to him, right? In addition to that, where I think this is the intrigue, is now we've talked about three phases of the game. Let's talk about the fourth phase. The fourth phase is being special teams production. The fact that this young man is a pretty good kick returner, and he can return punts too. And that's something that if you can get a guy to come in here as a third, fourth type option, I don't know how the coaching staff would use him. I'm still a little skeptical about the disconnect between the front office and the coaching staff when it comes to some of the utilization of some of the young guys. But with that said, if the coaching staff is on board and this is a guy that they can put back there and use for special teams production, and he helps you kind of, along with Trey Sermon and some of the other guys can help you size protect your roster, and the elephant in the room is something would have to happen between Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, and Trey Sermon. Somebody's the odd man out in that rotation is probably going to the practice squad, to be quite honest, if they're not claimed. But I do think that when I look at the situation, I think Williams would be a pretty good back for the Eagles. I mean, I do think that would be a very smart play for the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of trading and acquiring a player. I think he's the low-key player that you could probably get for a really late day 3 pick, to where maybe you're not as worried. Would they give him up for a 7th-round pick, guys? Might be a little bit wishful thinking, but you're certainly not going to spend a 3rd-round pick on Darrel Williams. It's not going to happen. They're not going to do that with Darrel Williams. No way in the world are they going to spend that kind of draft capital on him. Outside of that, I mean, you only really have a 3rd-round pick, and let's be honest. The Eagles' pick right now, teams are analyzing. I'm not saying this is factual. I'm saying the teams that are analyzing it currently are going to look at the Eagles and say that pick is probably going to be anywhere between the 29th pick and a 32nd pick in any given round. So if I'm looking for a 4th-round pick, I might be a little skeptical, if you're trying to trade me a 4th-round pick. We don't have that problem. Obviously, we sent our 4th-round pick to go secure Quinn. But that might be the way teams are looking at our 3rd-round pick to say, that's really just an early 4th-round pick to the way we're going to analyze this. That pick right there might not have the same weight that a mid-3rd-round pick is going to have. If I'm going to spend a 3rd-round pick, honestly, guys, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd rather have a guy like a Kareem Hunt or someone like that, a David Montgomery, a better player, no doubt about it. But, if you can get someone to bite on a 3rd-round pick for a guy like Darrel Williams, who can give you special teams production, is a bigger size back, does have over 100 carries in a season, he's nothing special, guys. I'm not here trying to sell you to say this is a special player, but you're trying to make these little marginal improvements to your team to facilitate that Super Bowl run. It's interesting to me. He is an interesting name to me to see exactly how much interest is on the Eagles' part here. Can't tell you that I know, guys. I'm not in that room with Howie Roseman. I have no clue. But it is a name that I've heard mentioned. It is a guy that on some levels makes sense to me, right? It's a low-key signing. There was special team production there. He is a fairly decent, I'm not going to call him great, guys, but he's a fairly decent pass protection back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, but he's not running routes. He's not routing you up, right? A bigger guy can run between the tackles if you need him to. He's an interesting name. That's a guy that I'm kind of watching for, and I'm looking at the value. Are you asking me like, hey, Steve, would you take him over David Montgomery? Would you take him over Kareem Hunt? Of course not, guys. But those are going to cost you a lot more in draft capital, and you're going to have to figure out, the money behind those type of players too. Like I said, the salary cap is very malleable. We've watched the Eagles already do this once. You need 2 consenting parties here. 3, really, counting the player. You need the player, you need the host organization, and you need your organization all to be in sync here. So can't predict those things, you know what I mean? All right, y'all, I appreciate y'all's time and attention. Leave your comments down below. What do you think about the running back situation, guys? I mean, there definitely seems to be some element of how he wants to improve it if he can. If he can snag another player, he might snag another player for this run. So we'll see. I mean, the other areas I'm looking at is safety and outside corner. A 3rd outside corner I think could be very valuable and very useful. seems to be some rationale around getting a guy that maybe has some versatility, Desmond King. I know a lot of you guys have mentioned Jalen Mills to me as being a versatile piece that you don't have to give up much money, much draft capital for. The problem with Jalen Mills is that the Patriots did pay him, and that's another one you got to figure the contract out for. I don't know. I mean, look, any guy that can come in here and improve the football team and can give you versatility at safety and corner, I don't think you can rule that out either. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next video.